Seasoner
and Co.
Welcome to
Second-Hand Haunting,
where we read ghost stories from a second-hand book I found in a second-hand shop and try to make sense of them.
Fun of them.
Sense of them.
Fun of them.
Sense.
Fun.
Sense.
Fun.
Sense. Sense. Hey, Ollie.
Hey, Callum.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Very good, because I found a new book.
What's this book about?
Well, it's an old book, actually. It's a very old book. It is a book called True Irish Ghost Stories by John Seymour and Harry Neligan. First published in 1926.
So they're the true?
Fuck. Is that Cloud Atlas?
It is.
You son of a bitch.
Good for
Sure.
you for getting the reference.
Yep. All right, yes, it is the true. Now, this is an interesting case. It is exactly what I've been hoping to find in a bookstore somewhere, where this guy, John Seymour, was doing a bunch of research into spiritual stuff around Ireland, right? And he realized that there was no reference material of just collected ghost stories.
So the Irish were being left out.
Yes, like they often were, in the 1920s. But he did the next logical thing. What do you think he did?
He wrote a book.
He sure did. He was so annoyed that nobody had collected a bunch of Irish ghost stories that he put out in the newspaper and said, "Hey, Ireland, I'm putting together a book of ghost stories. Here's what I do want, and here's what I don't want. Can you just send me letters with just all of your ghost stories, your family stuff, your local stuff, your personal stuff? Give it all to me."
Even if I hadn't had experiences of hauntings in my life, I would be super tempted to put together a story regardless and send it off if I saw something like that. I mean, not that I would have to, because as you know, I have been haunted. There was the incident that I
think we'll save that for a personal Patreon episode sometime.
Okay.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head there. A bunch of people just wrote in with insane stories to this guy. And credit to him, he did not take him at face value.
Just so you know, if you do want to get an episode where I tell you a haunting story, I've got a real doozy in the back pocket from when I was a kid, just throwing it out there.
I hope someday we make a Patreon to get a Patreon so we can hear that.
Totally.
Because I haven't even let Ollie tell me the story. I said, no, you save that. So I'm as excited as you are, listener.
It will haunt your dreams.
Now, I have read the foreword to the first edition and the foreword to the second edition of this book already, where John Seymour basically said, "Hey, look, I got all these stories. I've got no way of telling if they're true or not, but a bunch of them are similar enough that I've collected them and put them together in chapters of like, hey, here's a bunch of hauntings that are either similar in location or style, even if they're not real. This is what the public of Ireland believe."
Yeah, I was drifting off a bit there because all I was thinking about was the Aurora Borealis.
What?
Yeah, after I heard the word Seymour.
In this location, at this time of the year, contained entirely within your kitchen.
Yep.
May I see it?
No.
Having read the forewords to these and the delightful tone that John Seymour has taken, kind of cluing the reader in that it's might all be nonsense, but it's fun, interesting nonsense that we can put together and read together. A lot of it is thanking his co-author, Harry Neligan, who helped him go through the masses of piles of letters that he got and edit it and put it into a book. The rest of them are thanks of all the public that wrote in, and there's pages and pages of public as well. So I'm not going to read the foreword. I don't know how much of John's writing style is going to show through in this book, because a lot of it is just transcripts of the letters that people have sent in.
Look, I'm just going to throw it out there. I feel like he didn't work that hard.
Well, he seemed to have needed to work hard enough to get a second person involved, but the end result is that all these stories are just kind of placed end to end with small editorializing. So I've done my best to flick through, figure out the page counts and page numbers and everything of all these stories. I found what seems to be the best one without reading too far ahead, and we're going to read that one today.
Just sounds like a bit of a money-making scheme to me. Like, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to get everyone else to write the stories for me. Look, it's brilliant. And then I'm going to charge so much for the book. You have no idea.
Yeah, why aren't we charging money for this? Patreon, it will be coming soon.
I feel like it was like it's like a get rich quick scheme, right? To like, get that over the line. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what his intention was, but the final result, let's hope it's a bit of fun.
Yeah, totally. So it would have been better if he had like maybe a competition around it. Like, the best story wins $50.
I think that would have made people try and actually write fiction, right?
That's fair.
Whereas this seems to be more or less, hey, this has really happened in my house, my family, my history, whatever.
Yeah, totally. I think it's time to begin.
Yes. Now, this doesn't have a name the same way as the other stories that we've done on this show have. So I'm just going to call it Corney. You'll see why. And it's story number 9 of 13 haunted houses in Dublin.
The victim was killed by a corn on the cob.
I don't know if corn was in Ireland at this point, but you know what? It probably was, but it was the shitty Cromwell corn or whatever they were calling it that was just killing people. Editor's note, I was thinking of Peel's Brimstone here. So, moving on. We must relate the story of an extraordinary ghost, somewhat lacking in good manners, yet not without a certain distorted sense of humour. Absolutely incredible though the tale may seem, yet it comes on very good authority. It was related to our informant, Mr. D, by a Mrs. C, whose daughter he had employed as governess. I guess I will say here that people have obviously written into this guy with their own family histories. He's done his best to anonymize them, so there are certain people and places where it's been blanked out or just initialized, but he's left stuff in there to still identify who is who in the story.
Mm. Oh, and just for the people out there that might not know, a governess was like a caretaker, like a nanny that would look after the children, but it was also someone that would teach them in-house. So
Yes.
look after the kids and do some homeschooling.
Yeah. Take them on magical adventures into chalk paintings on the sidewalk.
Ah, of course. Yes. So it was Mary Poppins, that's right.
Yeah, I think close enough.
Absolutely close enough.
So Mrs. C, who is described as, quote, a woman of respectable position and good education, heard it, in her turn, from her father and mother. In the story, the relationship of the different persons seems a little involved, but it would appear that the initial A belongs to the surname of both Mr. C's father and grandfather. I don't know whether that's going to be relevant, but if it's included, it must be.
Mm.
Well, we'll see. So we're not entirely sure who this Mr. A is or what generation they come from.
But we'll see who Mr. C is.
Oh, yeah, we will. The ghost is commonly called Corney. Now, that is Corney, not like the vegetable. It's called that by the family, and he answered to this, though it was not his proper name. He disclosed this latter, his proper name, to Mr. C's mother, who forgot it.
Did I hear that the mother forgot the child's name?
No, she forgot the ghost's name.
Oh, okay.
So the ghost has a real name that's not Corney, but she forgot what the real name was and just kept on calling him the nickname of Corney.
I was going to say, that would be quite insulting. I know they had a lot of kids back there, but still.
Yeah. A lot of ghosts too. There's a lot of stories in this book. Corney made his presence manifest to the A family shortly after they had gone to reside in Blank Street. So again, they've redacted some information here to protect the innocent. In the following manner. Mr. A had sprained his knee badly and had to use a crutch, which one night was left at the head of his bed. One night his wife heard someone walking on the lobby, thump, 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 as if imitating Mr. A. She struck a match to see if the crutch had been removed from the head of the bed, but it was still there.
Dum, dum, dum.
From that on, Corney commenced to talk. And he spoke every day from his usual habitat, the coal cellar off the kitchen. His voice sounded as if it came out of an empty barrel. What do you think that means, coming out of an empty barrel? Like just hollow?
Hello. I'm in a barrel. It's hard to say. I would say echoey, and like an echoey voice. That would be my assumption.
All right, not drunk then.
I don't know why it's so funny, but it is. But yeah, no. Immediately imagined a small little ghost floating in a barrel of liquor, drinking shots or something.
That might explain some of his forthcoming activities, perhaps.
You look great.
He was very troublesome and continually played practical jokes on the servants who, as might be expected, were in terror of their lives of him.
Just quietly, the other thing that I always used to wonder when I was younger was like whether or not you could get drunk and then become a ghost and then be perpetually drunk.
Oh, drunk ghost.
Yeah, drunk ghost, yeah.
If it is the theory of like it's just a snapshot of who you were when you died, if you're drunk, the spirit remains.
Although, to be fair, the thing that I am absolutely hoping that happens when you die would be that you get to, like, flip between the versions of you that you prefer.
Oh, okay. Like, hey, I want to be drunk now.
Well, sure. But I was thinking more like, I liked myself in like when I was like around 25, so I can just like...
Oh, I see.
Go back to looking 25.
Gotcha. Yeah, you are the prime version of yourself in the afterlife.
Well, if TV shows and movies are anything to go by... They make it sound like it's better to die young. Like, do you know what I mean? Because in like TVs and movies and shows, they tend to have the person as like a snapshot of what they looked like when they died. So it's like
when you become a Force ghost, you suddenly look like Hayden Christensen.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I hope would happen. Because the other two...
You go back to having a gorgeous mane of hair rather than look like a middle-aged bald man.
But that's funny you should mention that because, like, the other two, because they didn't digitally remaster the other two...
I think they did at one point. They put Ewan McGregor in place of Sir Alec Guinness. Oh, okay. And, well, Yoda doesn't age anyway, but I think they smoothed him over a bit.
Would you feel like you're, like, a little bit robbed as that actor? Like...
Yeah. Although, to be fair, if that's Sir Alec Guinness, I don't think he gives a shit. He got paid for it quite well.
I'm not sure if this is too off topic, but did I ever tell you about how funny I thought it was when they did the remakes of Star Wars and there was a guy that used to play Jabba the Hutt in the first movie?
You've told this to me before, and I still haven't looked up the clip of the original humanoid Jabba the Hutt. And I still don't know if it's a deleted scene or not, but one day I'll look at this thing.
Fair enough. Well, look, I'm happy to like put a pin in that, but I always thought that was really interesting.
So the servants were so terrified, so much so that Mrs. A could hardly induce them to stay with her. So I guess like at the end of their shift, they'd be like, "Nah, I'm out. I'm not staying in the servants' quarters." They used to sleep in a press bed in the kitchen, and in order to get away from Corney, they asked for a room at the top of the house, which was given to them. I did not look up what a press bed is, but I'm going to guess it's like a trundle fold-out Murphy bed thing.
A press bed. Not a lot of stuff is coming up quite yet.
Again, this was written like 100 years ago, so there's some stuff that just does not survive. There's some stuff where even the author of the book, John Seymour, has just put like editorial brackets and an exclamation mark after it because I don't even think he understands what the author of the ghost story was trying to say.
Well, when I tried to see if I could find a reference for it, the best I could find looked more like a torture device, if anything.
That's probably correct. Anyway, the first night they went to retire to bed after the change, the doors of the press were flung open, and Corney's voice said, "Ha ha, you devils! I am here before you. I am not confined to any particular part of the house." This ghost is a maniac. I'm not even sure if he's a ghost. I think he's just like a creep in the house. Like if you got a drunk uncle who's hanging around the house that just nobody's acknowledging. This is a good argument, I guess, for the type of ghost that's not just a snapshot of who you were when you died, because he seems to be learning new information and reacting to it.
It also seems like the type of ghost that would like watch you in the shower and then actually jump out and say, "Ha-ha!
Yeah.
I see you naked."
Let's hope that's all he's doing. Corney was continually tampering with the doors and straining locks and keys. He only manifested himself in material form to 2 persons. To Blank, who died with the fright, and to Mr. A, who is Mrs. C's father, when he was about 7 years old. So only 2 people have seen Corney, one of whom immediately died and the other was a child. So maybe it's not a drunk uncle. I don't know what this is. I don't know if we're ever going to find out. My normal skeptical methods may not work on this story at all. The latter, the child at the time, described him to his mother as a naked man with a curl on his forehead and skin like a clothes horse.
Oh, this guy's definitely watching people in the shower.
Yeah. Now, this is one of those moments where the editor has put like an exclamation point here about after the word clothes horse. So he's as baffled as I am about what that means. I looked it up because I'm like, maybe clothes horse meant something different in the 1920s.
Be an interdimensional ghost story that has traveled through dimensions into our dimension and into this book, where there existed such things as clothes horses and press beds.
Okay. No, okay. Press bed's fair, I'll pay that. But clothes horses do exist. It's just an indoor rack on which to hang your wet clothes so they dry, right?
Spoil sport.
So that's what that means to me, at least. Now, that doesn't make sense to describe his skin like that. So I looked it up. Mm-hmm. Right? So it doesn't just mean like skeletal. It could have meant 2 different things. Either fashionable but vapid, as in you're wearing all the clothes in the world, but you've got no substance, which I think we need to start calling people clothes horses in this day and age again. Or it just meant that he was basically wearing rags. He's just got clothes just dripping off of him.
He can't be naked and...
Exactly. So I think this 7-year-old boy might have been trying to describe that this guy's like, his ghost is a skeleton with skin like just draping off and sloughing off of him.
Good point, well made. I mean, it's interesting that when we do think of ghosts, sometimes we think of skeletons and creepy looking things as well. So
yeah, not naked men.
It would be terrifying to think that you become a ghost and then still waste away.
Yeah, if this was the condition in which he died. Is naked the prime of his life?
It's be the prime of a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. One day, a servant was preparing fish for dinner. She laid it on the kitchen table while she went elsewhere for something she wanted.
Yeah, I always thought it would be funny to go to a nudist colony.
Just don't laugh at them.
No, I meant join. Like, I'd get naked too. Okay. I feel like I might be past that point in my life. I thought it'd be more funner when I was younger.
I think you'll find most nudist colonies, you get to a point in life where you think, yes, I'm doing this now.
Like, you've decided I don't care about stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm just going to let it all hang out.
Literally.
I don't care. Yeah. When she returned, the fish had disappeared. She thereupon began to cry, fearing she would be accused of making away with it. That's a fair fear for 1920s Ireland, I suppose.
Lose a fish?
Yeah. Like, fish has disappeared. Hey, you got to blame the servant.
Yeah. Or what it's actually called, dinner.
Yeah, yes, exactly. The next thing she heard was the voice of Corney from the coal cellar saying, "There, you blubbering fool, is your fish for you." And, suiting the action to the word, the fish was thrown out on the kitchen floor.
Plop.
Yeah. Again, we're back to drunk uncle, perhaps? Or, like, creepy guy living in the walls?
Maybe he's just bored.
Yeah.
I'm kind of loving the actual ghost story.
Yeah.
Because I remember with the first stories that we read for this podcast, a lot of them didn't have a lot of...
they're very haunting light.
Haunting light, yeah. And I think that we ended up talking more about just death
Death and history.
Death and history.
Whereas now we're getting fish thrown around the room and teasing people.
Now we get actual ghosts to talk about. Yeah. I was describing the podcast to someone the other day, actually, and I'm like, it's a great podcast as long as you don't mind, joking about death.
Yeah.
I also got like a quite deathly look in response to that. So it's
acquired taste, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's funny because I feel like there is joking about death and there's joking about death. We were making jokes about the long and the short drop, which really stuck in my mind. Whereas like joking about a skeleton ghost with like skin flapping about,
throwing fish around the room while naked
is a lot more fun.
Yeah. Look, when the tragedy is so long ago, it becomes comedy. Relatives from the country used to bring presents of vegetables, and these were often hung up by Corney like Christmas decorations round the kitchen. I kind of want this ghost. How do we get a Corney?
It does have a teenage juvenile like vibe to him, I think.
It's got an impish manner.
Yeah. Impish manner. I like that. I was an imp when I was a kid too.
There was one particular press in the kitchen he would not allow anything into. He would throw it out again. A crock with meat in pickle was put into it, and a fish placed on the cover of the crock. He threw the fish out.
Bugger.
Yeah, what a shithead. That's good food. There's probably a famine on right now, and he's throwing good fish away.
No excuse for bad manners.
No. Death notwithstanding. Silver teaspoons were missing, and no account of them could be got, until Mrs. A asked Corney to confess if he had done anything with them. He said, quote, "They are under the ticking in the servant's bed." You know what? I'm not going to continue, because I need to comment there. Do you think he hid the spoons under the servant's bed? Or do you think the servants were legitimately stealing the fish and the food, and Corney's just, like, ratting them out?
Could be.
I don't know whose side this guy's on. He's chaotic neutral.
Quick shout out to all the D&D players out there. Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. And I'm realizing how rich these people are as well. So I'm not sure how famined they may have been.
In a time when Ireland has very recently gone through, or might still be going through, depending on when it was written again. I don't know what the deal is here. And we're probably not going to find out.
No comment, Your Honour.
Yeah. He had, so he said, a daughter in blank street, again protecting the innocent, and sometimes announced that he was going to see her, and he would not be here tonight. I think this is a real person. I don't think it's a ghost. I think he's just a real dude in the house that nobody's acknowledging.
So there's like a young naked guy just running around the house, and they're like, "Well, surely he's a ghost and not real." Is that the road we're going down?
Not even young. Like, he's old enough to have a daughter.
The ghost is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So, yeah, I think maybe he's just a black sheep of the family. He's like, just ignore Corney.
Just ignore Corney.
And he's trying desperately, bless him, to get someone's attention to acknowledge him. Maybe
that was his mum. That forgot his name.
Yeah. Oh my God. On one occasion, he announced that he was going to have company that evening, and if they wanted any water out of the soft water tank, to take it before going to bed, as he and his friends would be using it.
I mean...
it's a dude, right?
Ghost party!
Oh yeah, is his company going to be other ghosts or just people?
Surely it's ghosts.
I mean, ghosts don't drink water, surely.
Maybe. I'm trying to err on the side of the ghost can do anything, and it's what they choose to do.
Okay. No, fair.
So, in my fictional world that I've made up for myself, ghosts are drinking whiskey,
I think this one sure is.
And probably when you're like looking the other way, they're stealing socks. I know that.
They're doing it in your face.
Yeah. But they're definitely stealing stocks. This is what I know for sure.
Yeah. Even back then, before washing machines existed or underneath washing machine was even a concept, socks were going missing.
I had a roommate once that wrote like a song about not being able to find his sock. And you know what? It was a banger.
Yeah.
it was probably one of his
I
most...
think I remember that song.
Yeah. And it was like probably one of his most requested songs.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because it's so relatable.
Yeah. Everyone's lost a sock.
It's like, I can't find my socks. Like, I can't find my socks either.
The universal human experience. Ghosts stealing socks.
Taylor Swift, for another inspiration for you, cover of that song?
No. If Taylor Swift dates Corney and then breaks up with him, I'm looking forward to that song, though.
Oh, he could still be around, right, Corney?
Oh, I hope so. Subsequently, that night, 5 or 6 distinct voices were heard. And next morning, the water in the tank was as black as ink. And not alone that, but the bread and butter in the pantry were streaked with the marks of sooty fingers. This is a guy. This is a man living behind the chimney, stealing spoons and fish and getting his grubby, sooty fingers all in everything.
Well, I can tell you one thing. If it was an actual ghost, then these people are true believers.
Yes.
Right? Because this is not...
Or blind.
This isn't like I felt slightly cold when I've walked through the hallway.
No.
I've heard a distant voice in the dark hall and they've turned on the light and no one's there type of thing. This is like full force.
Yep.
What's up? Hey, I'm a ghost.
Yeah.
What you doing today?
What are you going to do about it?
Waving his naked body around for everybody to see.
This might be what they're going to do about him, actually, because a clergyman in the locality, having heard the doings of Corney, called to investigate the matter. I am so on board for an exorcism of Corney.
Can I just try and see how that might go? Just do a little reenactment?
Yeah.
So we'll go like, hello, I am the clergy.
And I'm naked.
Ma'am, you seem to have a man in your living room that seems to be naked. Do you know that there is a man in your living room?
You can't see me because I'm a hallucination.
Yeah, you don't need this isn't a ghost. You need the police. God can only do so much.
You need vegetable Christmas decorations.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
He was advised by Mrs. A to keep quiet and not reveal his identity, as being the best chance of hearing Corney speak. Okay, so she's assuming that when a priest comes into the house, Corney knows what's up and he's going to hide, right? Let's call it now. I'm not reading ahead. I haven't read this far ahead. Do you think he's going to stay quiet around this priest?
Look, it's the typical go-to move of the ghost. We know this, right?
Yeah, whenever like the skeptic or whatever comes in, he clams up.
Yeah. Clams up, hides away.
Yeah.
You know.
The priest says, there's no problem here.
Yeah.
Why are you wasting my time?
And they're like, oh, you're crazy or whatever. But I do believe, though, that even if he clammed up and hid away and didn't make a noise, the clergy would still go for it.
Yeah.
They'd be like,
I mean, they try and...
Be gone, spirits!
they try and exercise things that aren't there, let alone things that are, so...
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. He waited a long time, and as the capricious Corney remained silent, he left at length. The ghost is just like, no, I'm not fucking priest, no.
Oh, like, just in case, you know? Like, could you imagine, like, being a ghost and there'd be the thought of, why risk it, you know?
Yeah. If you're a creepy uncle living in the cellar, I'm not telling this priest I'm here.
Like, surely if there was a god, I would have met them by now, but also, why risk it?
This is fun. The servants asked, Corney, why did you not speak? And he replied, I could not speak while that good man was in the house. Could not, Corney?
Would not.
Would not. The servants sometimes used to ask him where he was. He would reply, the great God would not permit me to tell you. I was a bad man, and I died the death. Sure you did, Corney. Sure you did. At least he's religious? That doesn't help, though, does it? He named the room in the house in which he died. Okay, So he died in the house at least. Presumably. He wasn't just like a wandering ghost.
I know we've talked about this before, where they always seem to have some sort of like radius that keeps them bound. But to be honest, I love the idea of a wandering ghost, right? Like, if I became a ghost, I think my first couple of 1,000 years at least would be just roaming the earth and, you know, discovering new lands and haunting airplanes. Like,
okay. I always wanted to know what was under that sunken cave. Now I can find out.
Right?
Yeah. Corney constantly joined in any conversation carried on by the people of the house. One could never tell when a voice from the coal cellar would erupt into the dialogue, because it's a guy. It's a dude living in the basement, right? It has to be. He had his likes and dislikes. He appeared to dislike anyone that was not afraid of him. And he would not talk to them. Huh. He only wants to talk to people that are not afraid of him? Okay. Interesting.
Well, that's manic in itself, isn't it? I mean, it kind of describes a bully, I suppose.
Yeah, like this man, if he is real, and I think he is, has some serious personality disorders.
Yeah. No.
Beyond living in a cellar.
Well, look, being cooped up in a cellar and having your family pretend that you're a ghost can really weigh on a person.
Yep. Mrs. C's mother, however, used to get good of him by coaxing. An uncle, having failed to get him to speak one night, took the kitchen poker and hammered at the door of the coal cellar, saying, "I'll make you speak." So, yeah, it's a guy. It's in the cellar. Everyone's aware of this. Why are we pretending this is a ghost?
They want the space back.
Yeah, I guess.
They like to tell the story at the bar.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, every time we get fresh vegetables into the house, they end up strung up like Christmas lights. Bullshit. No. Look, give me some fresh vegetables and I'll show you.
They're super rich and they just want something to complain about.
Yeah.
The poor are always complaining about how poor they are.
Oh, no. I'm not going to punch down on the Irish from the early 1900s.
I'm not punching down on the Irish. I'm punching down on the rich.
Yeah. That's fair. But Corney wouldn't speak. Next morning, the poker was found broken in two. The uncle used to wear spectacles, and Corney used to call him derisively, can you guess what Corney calls a guy with glasses?
Four Eyes?
Yup. Yeah. Called him Four Eyes. So that's been around for a while.
Yeah. There was a book that I read once where they referred to the character as having four eyes.
You're thinking The Colour of Magic?
Yeah,
or The Light Fantastic, I think? Yeah. Discord?
Yeah, it is that. And one thing that I found is that, like, they actually did different...
Cover art.
Thank you.
Because it was meant to be spectacles, meaning four eyes. It's just no one in that land had seen glasses before.
Exactly. But some illustrators
the
actually...
The original artist was like, oh, he's got four eyes. It's fantasy, whatever.
So I'm just going to make four eyes, yeah. So I always thought that was really funny.
An uncle named Richard came to sleep one night. I have to turn a page and I'm worried what we're going to find on the other side of this.
Just quickly.
Yeah.
It's a funny insult because it's not really much of an insult, right? You're calling someone like Four Eyes, it's like, cool.
Yeah, and?
Like, whatever, man. Like,
it's better than Five Head.
I mean, from my perspective, the worst it can really mean is that you've got glasses, and it's like,
yeah, that's self-evident.
Yeah, it's a modern invention that helps people see better. Like,
yeah, you begged the question here, guys.
Sorry, it just seems like such a really ridiculous thing to be insulting someone about.
Agreed. So anyway, Richard complained in the morning that the clothes were pulled off him. Corney told the servants in great glee, I slept on Mr. Richard's feet all night. What the fuck, Corney?
Creepy Corney.
Oh, is that a callback? That's a callback.
Creepy Corney with the foot fetish.
Foot fetish. Yeah. Yes.
Creepy Corney with the foot fetish. What's that thing where it helps your pronunciation?
Oh, a vocal warm-up?
Vocal warm-up? Maybe you could use that as a vocal warm-up, like Creepy Corney. Again. So Creepy Corney has a foot fetish.
Is that how he wanted to go down in history?
I don't know, but it's a great shirt idea.
Oh, no. Finally, Mr. A made several attempts to dispose of his lease, but with no success. For when intended purchasers were being shown over the house and arrived at Corney's domain, the spirit would begin to speak, and the would-be purchaser would fly. Run away, I assume, not actually fly, unless Corney can throw people a lot further than he can throw fish. They asked him if they changed house, would he trouble them? He replied, "No, but if they throw down this house, I will trouble the stones."
Oh, is that like destroy the house or trouble the rubble?
Yeah, so if they destroyed the house to try and get rid of the ghost, he would still haunt the ruins of the house.
Cool.
So, hey, if that's happened, T-Swift, get over there. At last, Mrs. A appealed to him to keep quiet and not to injure people who have never injured him. He promised that he would do so, and then said, "Mrs. A, you will be all right now, for I see a lady in black coming up the street to this house, and she will buy it." Within half an hour, a widow called and purchased the house.
Boom, just like that.
Okay, so Corney is not a drunk uncle. He is, in fact, I guess, a squatter working for the real estate agent of this lady in black to drive away everyone else buying the house so she can swoop in and get it cheap.
Could be.
Real estate shenanigans have been going on for as long as there have been real estate agents.
So far, all I've been really imagining, and I don't know why they're oiled up, but like an
What?
But like an oiled up naked man running around the house for no reason.
Oh man, I
think
him being oiled up is a whole new facet to this that was not mentioned, but I appreciate.
I think it comes from like a cartoon. I can't remember
What cartoons are you
I
watching?
think it was maybe Family Guy.
Oh, okay.
And there was like a oil, like a buttered covered man, and like the game was to try and catch them, and they like it was like kept on slipping through their hands. I don't know where the idea came for that, but for some reason that vision stuck in my head when we were reading this. To be fair, I think the guy in Family Guy was wearing underwear.
Yeah, I should hope so.
Because it is Family Guy.
Yes, yeah. It's still on TV.
It's still on TV, yeah.
Not, No, I'm not going to finish that sentence.
Although, I won't finish that sentence either. But there's actually absolutely no rhyme or reason why oil came into my imagination there. But yeah, I just thought he just like slipping around and getting...
just getting into everything.
Yeah, but yeah, if he was a real guy, cold, right? Like it gets some horrid winters.
Yeah, well, that's why he never left the house. Oh, no, because he went to see his daughter.
Oh.
Wait, is this lady in black actually his wife? She's not a widow at all. She's just sent her husband to go terrorize a poor family because she wanted to buy a house.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
I also would believe that people from that age would believe more than people from other ages.
Slightly more willing to believe in the supernatural back then?
Yeah. Obviously, it's pretty far-fetched to believe that like a naked guy running around your house could be construed as a ghost as opposed to an actual real person. But I feel like if it was going to happen, it'd be more likely to happen at that time period than it would now.
Yes, I would agree. Is it more likely to happen in Ireland? I don't know.
I don't think it would be more or less likely than other parts of the world at that time.
Yeah, fair enough. Possibly, Corney is still there, for our informant looked up the directory as he was writing and found the house marked vacant. The end. That is my favourite story we've read so far.
One of many to come from this book, I hope.
Yes. I think that's certainly the longest one, at least in the section of haunted houses in Dublin. Again, this roams all over the Irish countryside.
Maybe the widow got away with a great deal on the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, luck of the Irish.
Which widow? widow in quotes here, I think.
Weirdo and great, yeah.
The widow and the weirdo. This story doesn't have a name, so should I call it that?
Maybe you should call them not the luck of the Irish, the smarts of the Irish. I always say you make your own luck,
The
right?
oil of the corn.
I can't see us putting that on a shirt.
All right. Well, I think we should read some more of these true Irish ghost stories next time. Next time on
Second-hand haunting.